picture this. Mile after mile of dense forest stretching as far as the eye can see. No signs of civilization, not a house, not a road, not even another person. Just the endless tapestry of trees and the wild creatures moving through them. This is the world Laura Ingalls Wilder invites us into at the very beginning of Little House in the Big Woods.
Yeah, it's striking, isn't it? What's fascinating right away is how this book, well, more than just a story, it acts as a time capsule.
Right.
It transports you directly into a way of life that feels almost unimaginable today. And this particular edition we're exploring, enriched with Helen Sewell's illustrations, really sparks your imagination, helping you visualize every detail of that era.
Absolutely. And we're immediately introduced to the heart of this isolated world, the Ingalls family. We have young Laura, who is our guide through this experience, her older sister Mary, and then, the steady presence of Pa and Ma. It struck me how simply they were addressed, just Pa and Ma, a common and intimate way for children to speak to their parents back then. What does that simplicity tell us about their family dynamic, do you think?
Well, that simple form of address really roots us in a specific time and culture, right?
Yeah.
Highlighting a perhaps more direct and less formal relationship between parents and children than maybe we see sometimes today.
Yeah.
And our mission in this deep dive is to truly understand the fabric of their daily lives in that little house nestled deep within the big woods. We want to explore the key aspects of their existence as Wilder so vividly portrays them in these early chapters.
Okay, so let's dive into a reality that constantly shaped their lives, the ever-present wild. The book paints a picture of a world teeming with wolves, bears, and what Laura calls those huge wildcats.
Right.
Even at a young age, she understood the inherent danger with the stark awareness that wolves would eat little girls.
And yet, what's interesting is the contrasting sense of vulnerability and security. There's a clear understanding of the potential threats lurking just beyond their doorstep, but within the walls of their log home, there's a feeling of being protected. That crooked rail fence, specifically built to deter bears and deer, it wasn't much by today's standards, but it represented a crucial first line of defense.
And Paul wasn't passive about protecting their resources. We read about him hanging the deer he'd hunted high up in the trees. This wasn't just to keep it away from immediate scavengers. It speaks to a longer-term strategy for survival, a deep understanding of the forest's inhabitants and their habits.
Absolutely. And the sound of wolves howling at night becomes a recurring, almost haunting soundtrack to their lives. It instilled fear, certainly, but it also constantly reminded them of the untamed wilderness surrounding their small pocket of civilization.
Yeah, that's chilling.
Then you have Pa's story about his own father, Grandpa, and the panther. That chilling account with the panther's scream likened to a woman's voice and the dramatic escape into the house, it really underscores the very real dangers they faced.
Definitely.
It makes Pa's ever-present rifle all the more significant, doesn't it?
It does, and that rifle was more than just a tool. It was essential for their survival. Every evening, almost as a ritual, Pa would make bullets in preparation for hunting. Even Laura and Mary would participate, bringing him the lead and the bullet mold. You can almost picture the scene. The soft glow of the fire, the melting lead in that big spoon, and the careful pour into the mold. What does that nightly ritual tell us about their mindset?
That nightly preparation speaks volumes about their constant vigilance and, well, self-reliance. They couldn't just go to a store for food or protection. They had to actively create and maintain their means of survival.
Right.
And the detailed description of Pa cleaning his long rifle, the precise steps of loading it with gunpowder from the cow horn and carefully tamping it down with the ramrod, it really highlights how vital that weapon was for both putting food on the table and protecting the family from predators.
As the seasons began their turn, the focus shifted to another critical aspect of their lives, preparing for the long and often harsh winter. Wilder gives us these subtle but telling details, the days growing noticeably shorter, the delicate frost patterns creeping across the window panes at night, all signaling the change and the regency of their preparations.
And their methods for preserving food are truly fascinating. The process of salting and smoking venison in a hollow tree wasn't just a rudimentary way to store meat. It was a technique that infused it with flavor. Imagine with that thick, smoky, meaty smell.
Yeah.
It demonstrates an intimate understanding of their environment and how to best utilize its resources to sustain them through the lean months.
Then we have Pa's journey to Lake Pepin to catch a wagon load of fish, some so enormous they were compared to Laura's size. The sheer quantity of that catch and the subsequent salting of the surplus in barrels for the winter really showcases their remarkable ability to secure a substantial food supply all through their own efforts.
Exactly. And let's not overlook the pig that roamed freely in the woods.
Right.
The fact that they depended on it to fatten itself on acorns and nuts before being butchered when the weather turned cold reveals a very different relationship with their food sources than we typically have today.
Totally different.
And the dramatic middle-of-the-night encounter with the bear near the pig pen and Pa's necessary action further underscores their constant interaction with the wild and the need for preparedness.
The transition indoors to gather and store vegetables, potatoes, carrots, beets, turnips, cabbages in the root cellar is another crucial part of this seasonal preparation. It paints a picture of a well-organized and systematic effort to ensure they had a diverse and nutritious diet, even in the depths of winter.
And even the way they meticulously stored onions, braided into long ropes and hung in the attic alongside vibrant wreaths of red peppers, and the careful piling of pumpkins and squashes in those attic corners, Wilder's description of the colors and the sheer abundance creates a powerful sense of self-sufficiency and foresight.
Then comes butchering time, a significant event that involved the extended family. Uncle Henry's arrival marks the beginning of this intense period of work. The image of the large bonfire being built to heat the water, it highlights a communal effort, everyone contributing to this vital task.
Definitely. The detailed account of butchering the hog, the scalding, scraping away the bristles, the carcass being hung, and then the precise cutting up of the meat into hams, shoulders, side meat, and so on. It's quite visceral.
Yeah.
And it reminds us of the very hands-on nature of their existence, where nothing was processed or prepackaged.
And the meticulous process of salting all that meat, with the hams and shoulders submerged in brine to be smoked in that hollow log, Pa's simple remark, "You can't beat hickory-cured ham," really brings a personal and appreciative touch to this essential undertaking.
Absolutely. The rendering of lard in those big iron pots, the careful skimming of the cracklings, even Ma's little comment about them being too rich for young children offers a small window into their understanding of nutrition and moderation. And then the transformation of the hog's head into head cheese and the making of flavorful sausage seasoned with sage. It showcases a complete and respectful utilization of the animal.
The culmination of all this hard work is an incredible bounty of stored food sausages, head cheese, lard, salt pork, those prized smoked hams and shoulders, the little house practically bursting with good food. It's a powerful testament to their diligence and their ability to provide for themselves in a demanding environment.
With the arrival of colder weather and the successful preparations, home life and the simple pleasures found indoors took on a greater significance. The attic, amidst all that stored food, transforms into a unique play space for Laura and Mary.
Right, with the pumpkins.
Yeah, pumpkins serving as makeshift chairs and tables, the air filled with that distinctive, dusty, spicy smell of the drying herbs and preserved goods. It's a charming image of children finding joy and making the most of their surroundings.
And their toys. Laura's beloved corncob doll, Susan, and Mary's ragdoll Nettie. It really highlights how imagination and resourcefulness filled the space where elaborate store-bought toys would be today. What do these simple playthings tell us about their childhood?
Well, these simple toys speak volumes about the nature of childhood in that era, don't they? They fostered creativity and imagination, where a corncob or a scrap of cloth could become a cherished companion. It contrasts sharply with the often overstimulated world children inhabit today.
Evenings by the fire sound so warm and inviting. Paul diligently greasing his traps, preparing for the next hunt, sharing those small jokes and stories, and, of course, playing his fiddle. These moments of family connection must have been absolutely vital in their isolated lives, providing comfort and a sense of togetherness.
Absolutely. And the practical measures they took to keep the house warm, doors and windows tightly shut, cracks meticulously stuffed with cloth, juxtaposed with the detail of Black Susan the cat, freely coming and going through her dedicated cat hole.
The cat hole.
Yeah, it adds a touch of endearing realism to their daily routines.
And who can forget the wonder of Jack Frost's artwork on the window panes? The children using their fingers to create their own patterns in the delicate frost. It's a beautiful reminder that even in a potentially harsh environment, there was still so much room for natural beauty and childlike wonder.
Helping Ma with the daily chores, like diligently wiping the dishes and making the trundle bed, wasn't just about getting tasks done. It instilled the sense of responsibility and contribution from a very young age.
The detailed description of butter making the careful scalding of the churn dash, the rhythmic motion of churning, the magical appearance of those tiny butter grains, and then the final steps of washing, salting, and molding it with that charming strawberry design. It's a fascinating glimpse into a common household task, elevated almost to an art form.
And Ma's creativity shown in other ways, too, like making paper dolls and crafting intricate clothes for them. It was a simple yet engaging pastime that likely provided hours of imaginative play.
And Pa's return home on those cold nights, the icicles clinging to his mustache, and his affectionate greeting to Laura, that wonderful phrase, "Where's my little half pint of sweet cider, half drunk up?"
These small, tender moments really paint a picture of a loving and connected family.
Even his playful teasing of Laura with the story about the mad dog, followed by his immediate praise for her bravery, reveals a gentle and thoughtful approach to parenting.
Yeah.
And the comforting sound of him playing his fiddle and singing familiar songs like Yankee Doodle much have created such a sense of security and belonging. The sources of light, they relied on the soft glow of the kerosene lamp, sometimes with its red flannel and salt additions and the flickering warmth of the fireplace. These weren't just functional necessities, they shaped the ambiance of their evenings.
Right.
And Pa's storytelling by the fire, including that thrilling tale of Grandpa and the Panther, must have been a cherished and regular part of their family routine.
As winter truly took hold, we arrive at Christmas in the big woods, a time of particular significance, despite their isolation. The image of the little log house almost completely enveloped in snow is so evocative of their remote existence.
Pa's handcrafted Christmas present for Ma, that beautifully carved bracket adorned with a star, a delicate vine, and a sturdy curved support, speaks volumes about his love and his skill. It wasn't about the extravagance of store-bought gifts, but about the personal effort and care invested in creating something special.
Exactly. And the delightful tradition of making candy by simply pouring warm maple syrup onto pans of clean, fresh snow. What an ingenious and resourceful way to create a festive treat from the natural elements around them.
So simple, but sounds amazing. The joyous arrival of Aunt Eliza, Uncle Peter, and their cousins in that big horse-drawn bobsled, the little house suddenly bursting at the seams with family, it really underscores the importance of these familial connections, especially during the holidays in such a remote setting.
And the simple joy of playing outdoors in the deep snow, creating those ephemeral pictures by falling flat on their faces. It's such a wonderfully unpretentious and purely joyful activity.
And the familiar anticipation of hanging stockings by the fireplace, a tradition that many of us still cherish today.
Uncle Peter's intriguing story about his dog, Prince, behaving strangely and preventing Aunt Eliza from going to the spring, only to later discover wolf tracks. It adds a touch of mystery and a stark reminder of the wildness that always surrounded them, even during a time of celebration.
Wow, yeah, even at Christmas.
The image of Pa playing his fiddle in that warm, firelit room, the gentle melodies lulling the children to sleep after a day of excitement.
It's a quintessential cozy Christmas scene. Christmas morning itself, the sheer delight of the presents, Laura receiving her beautiful cloth doll named Charlotte, those warm red mittens and some precious candy, and the joy shared by Mary and the cousins as they open their own simple gifts. It's clear that even modest presents held immense value, representing love and thoughtfulness.
And Ma's creative pancake men for breakfast. What a fun and imaginative way to start Christmas Day with a special touch.
Pancake man.
Followed, of course, by the much-anticipated Christmas dinner. A true feast after all their preparations.
The eventual departure of the relatives in the bobsled marks the end of the immediate holiday excitement, but you can imagine the warm memories they carried with them back into the snowy woods.
Then comes the distinct contrast of Sundays, a day set apart for rest and quiet contemplation, with very specific restrictions on permissible activities. No work was to be done, and only calm, peaceful pursuits were allowed.
Right. Ma would often spend this quiet time reading Bible stories or sharing tales from the wonders of the animal world. These served as their forms of Sunday entertainment and, well, moral instruction.
And Laura's youthful frustration with these restrictions and her very relatable outburst, "I hate Sunday," provides a touch of humor and reminds us of the challenges of adhering to strict rules, especially for a spirited young girl.
Yeah, you feel for her there. Pa's gentle but firm response, telling the story of Grandpa's sled and the disobedient pig, as a lesson about the importance of obedience and the consequences of breaking rules, even on the Sabbath, is a clear example of his parenting approach. That detailed description of Sunday observances in Grandpa's time really emphasizes just how strictly the Sabbath was once observed.
Even Pa's choice of music on Sundays, playing hymns on his fiddle in the evening, reinforced the solemn and reflective nature of the day.
Laura's birthday, falling on a Monday, offered a small but significant break from the routine, marked by a gentle spanking, a common practice then apparently, the special little wooden man as a gift, 5 small individual birthday cakes, and a new dress for Charlotte.
Oh.
And Pa playing the lively tune, Pop Goes the Weasel, as a special treat, shows how they marked these personal milestones.
As the grip of winter began to loosen, the welcome signs of spring brought a renewed sense of energy and the promise of new adventures. The sight of thawing snow and the sound of dripping icicles were undoubtedly welcome changes.
The charming story of the sugar snow, that unexpected late snowfall that provided an opportunity for more maple sugar making at Grandpa's, is a delightful tale of nature offering a surprise bounty. You can just imagine Pa returning home with those hard, brown cakes of maple sugar and the rich, dark brown syrup, a real taste of spring sweetness.
Pa sharing the story of his own father, Grandpa, meticulously crafting wooden buckets and troughs, specifically for collecting maple sap, and explaining the entire process of making maple sugar, provides valuable insight into another essential homestead skill passed down through generations.
And the anticipation surrounding the dance at Grandpa's, with Ma taking extra care and dressing in her beautiful delaine dress, really builds a sense of excitement for a social gathering, a welcome break from their usual relative isolation.
The journey to Grandpa's, in the familiar horse-drawn sled, their primary mode of transport through the snowy landscape, was an adventure in itself.
Arriving at Grandma's larger house with its spacious main room and the different areas for family members would have highlighted the contrast with their own smaller, more intimate home.
The collective effort of gathering the maple sap and the long hours spent boiling it down, with everyone participating, underscores the communal nature of these important seasonal activities.
Grandma's simple but nourishing supper of hasty pudding provides another glimpse into their daily meals.
The preparations for the dance were clearly a special occasion, the aunts carefully dressing in their finest stockings and dresses, taking pride in their appearance and the chance to socialize.
The arrival of even more family members, including another Laura Ingalls, just added to the lively and festive atmosphere.
And then the dance itself. Pa calling out the figures, the swirling of skirts, the energetic stamping of boots, and Uncle George adding to the merriment by blowing his bugle. It sounds like a truly joyous and memorable event.
The spontaneous jigging contest between Grandma and Uncle George, the excitement, the sheer energy, and Grandma's triumphant victory. It's a wonderful anecdote that reveals their individual personalities and the simple forms of entertainment they enjoyed.
It really is. And then Grandma's announcement that the syrup was finally waxing, followed by everyone rushing outside to enjoy the sweet, soft maple candy on the cold snow. What a perfect and delicious ending to a lively evening.
Waking up at Grandma's the next morning and the return journey home in the sled mark the end of that particular spring adventure. But the happy memories of the dance would surely have lingered. And the subsequent disappearance of the sugar snow finally heralded the true arrival of spring.
With the full bloom of summer came a new rhythm to life in the big woods. The air filled with the songs of birds, the grass grew lush and green, and vibrant wildflowers dotted the landscape.
For Laura and Mary, the warmer weather meant the simple joy of going barefoot, feeling the earth beneath their toes. Their imagined at play in their little playhouses, nestled under the shade of the oak trees, Pa thoughtfully making them a swing. These were the defining moments of their childhood summers. Even their games with broken dishes and dolls showcased their remarkable creativity.
The changing seasons also dictated the routines of the homestead. The cows being turned loose to graze in the woods, the piglets kept safely in their pen, and Pa diligently plowing the clearing, preparing the land for future crops.
The anticipation and the journey to the town near Lake Pepin in the wagon was a significant event, a break from their usual isolation. The description of the sandy road and the steady pull of the horses really sets the scene for their excursion.
And then the breathtaking first glimpse of the vast blue expanse of Lake Pepin. It must have felt like entering a completely different world compared to their familiar wooded surroundings.
Totally. Arriving in town and Laura's overwhelming impression of the sheer number of houses really highlights the stark contrast with their solitary existence in the big woods. Visiting the store and being confronted with such an incredible variety of goods, Laura's amazement truly captures the wonder of seeing items they couldn't produce themselves.
Pa and Ma's careful trading for essential supplies like calicos for clothing, sturdy denim, and practical white cloth, as well as a few special treats like tea and store-bought sugar, underscores the purposefulness of their trip acquiring necessities and a few small luxuries. And the trading for Pa's galluses, or suspenders, and his tobacco highlights their personal needs as well.
The unexpected kindness of the storekeeper giving Laura and Mary each a heart-shaped candy with printed verses, a small gesture, but one that surely left a lasting impression.
See?
And the simple pleasure of a picnic lunch by the lakeshore, collecting smooth, colorful pebbles, these were the treasured moments of their day in town.
Their visit to Mrs. Peterson, the Swedish neighbor, and the gentle challenges of the language difference, followed by the sharing of cookies, is a charming example of community and connection found even across cultural boundaries.
Even brief encounters with other neighbors and their children, with Laura developing a preference for playing with a boy named Clarence, offer glimpses into the broader social world beyond their immediate family circle.
Aunt Lottie's visit, and Ma taking the time to curl Laura's hair, brings up those universal childhood experiences of self-perception and comparison, the innocent query about whether brown or golden curls were more desirable.
And then that very human moment, Laura impulsively slapping Mary after Mary's comment about her hair, followed by Pa's immediate but fair reprimand and the subsequent spanking. It's a reminder that even in this seemingly simpler time, sibling squabbles and their consequences were a part of growing up.
Oh, absolutely. Back on the homestead, we see Ma's impressive skills in action with the meticulous process of cheese making, setting the fresh milk with rennet, carefully cutting the curd, separating the whey, and then the patient work of salting the curd and pressing it under a heavy board and rock for aging.
Wow.
Laura and Mary's enjoyment of the squeaky fresh curd is a delightful sensory detail that brings the process to life.
Ma sharing a bit of folklore while making green cheese, telling them about the dead cold moon and contrasting it with the vibrant life surrounding them, adds a touch of wonder and connects their practical tasks to the natural world.
Laura's less than enthusiastic reaction to tasting the whey, and Pa's subsequent cautionary tale of old Grimes and his skim milk cheese, emphasizing the importance of proper nourishment, serves as a gentle lesson about the value of their hard work in producing wholesome food.
Pa's lucky discovery of a bee tree while on a mission to borrow a grubbing hoe leads to a moment of shared excitement and a significant harvest of sweet honeycomb.
Nice.
His explanation about bears and panthers being less active, even lazy during the summer months, adds to our understanding of the local wildlife's seasonal patterns.
As the abundance of summer transitioned into harvest time, Pa and Uncle Henry's practice of trading work highlights the crucial role of community support in managing the demanding workload of the season. The arrival of the cousins to spend the day brought a burst of youthful energy to the scene.
The children's playful game of jumping from stump to stump showcases their agility and the unique natural playground that the big woods provided. Meanwhile, Pa and Uncle Henry's hard labor of cutting oats with cradles is vividly depicted, emphasizing the physical demands of their agricultural practices.
The subsequent steps of binding the cut stalks into neat bundles and carefully shocking them in the fields were essential for preserving the harvest. Uncle Henry's initial optimism about his son Charlie being helpful quickly gave way to Charlie's uncooperative and disruptive behavior.
Uh-oh.
And then that memorable and somewhat painful incident, Charlie's unfortunate encounter with the yellow jacket's nest. The dramatic description of his stinging and the immediate, somewhat rustic remedy of a mud plaster is quite a vivid image.
Ouch.
Pa's tired return and his rather blunt assessment of Charlie's misadventure, it served the little liar right. And young Laura's innocent confusion about why Charlie was labeled a liar adds a fascinating layer to their developing understanding of truth and consequences.
Interesting point. Even amidst the busy harvest season, Moss still found time for other essential tasks, like skillfully braiding oat straws to fashion practical hats for the entire family. The detailed description of the different braiding techniques and the careful sewing process really showcases her resourcefulness and her ability to create necessities from what was readily available.
Right.
Laura even tried her hand at making a small hat for her beloved doll, Charlotte.
The gradual but noticeable changing colors of the leaves in the big woods signaled the inevitable approach of autumn, a beautiful transformation, but also a practical reminder of the need to once again prepare for the coming winter.
The annual gathering of walnuts, hickory nuts, and hazelnuts for winter storage was another important activity, ensuring they had a supply of nutritious and long-lasting food to supplement their other provisions.
And Ma's preparations for winter baking were extensive, diligently boiling down pumpkins into a thick, concentrated mass for pies, and the slow roasting of hardy Hubbard squash.
Not to mention the time-consuming and somewhat laborious process of making hulled corn. Using hardwood ashes to loosen the tough outer skins, then scrubbing the corn clean, and the various ways they enjoyed eating this staple food throughout the colder months.
The exciting arrival of the threshing machine, pulled by an impressive team of 4 horses, was a major event, a glimpse into the advancements of agricultural technology entering their remote world. The sheer noise and impressive scale of this wonderful machine must have been truly awe-inspiring for young Laura and her family.
Yeah, you can imagine.
The noisy and efficient process of threshing the wheat, the horses steadily walking in their circular path, the tumbling rod powering the machinery, the separator seemingly chewing the bundles of grain and spitting out straw, while precious wheat poured into waiting sacks. It's a vivid depiction of progress and the move towards more efficient farming methods.
Right.
And the substantial meal Maud diligently prepared for the hard-working threshers highlights the community spirit and the importance of hospitality during these large-scale workdays. Laura's innocent curiosity about the origin of the name Johnny Cake adds a charming touch of childhood inquisitiveness.
As autumn deepened, Pa's experience at the Deer Lick offered a different kind of encounter with the wild, one marked by a change in his perspective. His decision not to shoot the magnificent buck, the plump bear, and finally the gentle doe and her fawn revealed a growing respect for the creatures of the woods, a shift in his hunter's heart.
That's a powerful moment. Laura's quiet relief at not having fresh meat that night, and Mary's simple acceptance of bread and butter instead, along with Pa's affectionate demeanor toward his daughters, underscores the family's understanding and acceptance of his evolving feelings towards the wildlife around them.
Finally, with the full embrace of autumn, the long winter evenings returned, bringing with them the familiar comforts of firelight and the soothing sounds of Pa's music filling their snug home once more.
Pi's playing of familiar and comforting tunes like "Oh, Susanna" and the nostalgic "Auld Lang Syne" on his fiddle, accompanied by the quiet rhythm of Ma's knitting needles by the warm fire, paints a serene picture of peaceful domestic harmony, as another cycle of seasons in the big woods drew to a close.
So, this deep dive into the early chapters of Little House in the Big Woods has truly offered you a remarkable and intimate glimpse into the self-sufficient and resilient life of the Ingalls family. We've explored their incredible resourcefulness in the face of both the breathtaking beauty and the very real challenges of their isolated environment.
Yeah, it's really something. What's fascinating to consider is just how deeply their lives were interwoven with the natural world, their daily routines dictated by the unyielding rhythm of the changing seasons and the constant fundamental need for survival.
Absolutely.
It raises a compelling question for you to ponder. What aspects of this profound self-reliance, this intimate and direct connection to the land, do you find most surprising or perhaps even strangely appealing in our vastly different and increasingly interconnected world today?
That's a great question. If this exploration of pioneer life and the captivating world of Laura Ingalls Wilder has sparked your curiosity, we wholeheartedly encourage you to delve into the subsequent books in this series or to further research the rich history of this fascinating period. The Big Woods held countless more stories, and as we've discovered, this was truly just the beginning of a remarkable journey.